Hey BookTube, Books with Banks back again with another episode. I figured it's been a few days since I had mentioned that I was going to try and get some more Kharkanas analysis videos up here on the channel, particularly the three that I outlined in one of my earlier videos. That research process is taking a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm having a ton of fun diving back into these books and really looking for examples of the themes I'm looking forward to highlighting in these videos. So I just wanted to, kind of before that official video 3 comes out, I wanted to do a kind of 2.5 video to give updates on my research process, explain how all of this is going, and kind of give an example of the level of analysis I'm gonna be going into in these future videos. So I've been rigorously tearing through Forge of Darkness, and this is my copy. I showed it in a few videos the other day, and it did not look like that with those sticky notes. I finished going through this one, annotating to the best of my ability all of the points of interest that I might be referencing for these upcoming videos. So the first and probably the second of my deeper analysis videos now, they were going to be focused on both Forge of Darkness and Fall of Light, but now those first two are going to entirely just focus on the events of Forge of Darkness. I figure that might spare or save people from being spoiled on Fall of Light if you've just read this one, but also it gives me a little bit more time to go through and annotate Fall of Light, because it's definitely not sticky noted up and annotated quite as much as Forge of Darkness is. So then once I do, while I'm getting these videos out, these kind of analytical essays out about Forge of Darkness, that'll give me time to do this similar deep dive into Fall of Light. This one's the first two analysis essays, mostly Forge of Darkness. The third analysis essay, mostly Fall of Light. Some of my initial outlining I had in mind for these videos has already kind of been overturned, or at least it's undergone extensive revision as a result of my research and annotation process. For a quick example, I had expected for the first video all about justice and moralizing, I had expected to talk a lot about Animander Rake and Vatha Ursander. While I do have several notes about and references to both of those characters, High Priestess Centaura has very much been the character that's stolen the spotlight. And yes, that was a really bad pun, but Centaura stolen the spotlight. So now a large section of the first video will be devoted to a sort of character analysis of Centaura. And then of course, to find out exactly why I shifted the focus more and more onto her, well, you'll have to stay tuned to find out, and to help be alerted to when that video is coming out. It would really mean a lot to me if you could subscribe, maybe like this video, but also, especially if you're subscribed, please hit the bell to get notifications whenever I release these newer or these upcoming Kharkanas videos. So, again, just to summarize and clarify, the Kharkanas videos about justice and parenting will both focus much more heavily on Forge of Darkness, and the video about historians and academics of the series, that one will pull more from Fall of Light, as well as a few external text on history theory. I've already started to dive into this a little bit. This is actually one of my least favorite kind of collections of essays, but I figured I'd start here looking through some of these essays, or looking back through some that I looked at in grad school, and then there's 2 or 3 other kind of collections like this of articles that I'm gonna be using to help analyze historian type characters, academic type characters in Erikson's world. But yeah, so that process is not very long at all. So hopefully just focusing on Forge of Darkness will give me time to get further into this sort of research. I guess before I move on to the kind of quick analysis example I want to give here, I should say I am toying with, because right now, as the breakdown has it, I'll be doing 2 analysis videos on Forge of Darkness and only 1 on Fall of Light. I don't want either book to get necessarily any more attention than the other, so I have been toying with the idea of going through one of the earlier comedic scenes between Prazik and Dathanar in Fall of Light, and I really want to go through and analyze how smartly and tightly Erikson crafts those more comedic scenes. So yeah, please let me know in the comments if that isn't a video, the type of video, deep dive into really just one specific scene that anyone is curious to see me work on or to see me put out there. Anyway, now that my project series updates are out of the way, I would like to look closely at a particular passage in Forge of Darkness in which a Jagged character is in conversation with his sort of surrogate daughter. This is Haut the Jagged and Koria, who's the hostage in their kind of hostage system, the hostage daughter. And Haut the Jagged is explaining to her his and possibly Erikson's or Blind Galen's. It can be a little hard to tell whose point of view is being channeled through characters. Like, is Haut channeling Erikson, the author's point of view, or is he more channeling Galen, the narrator's point of view? That can be a little tricky, but we don't necessarily need to get into that right now. But anyway, Haut basically gives a lecture on the concept of theme, and Koria, his kind of daughter pupil character, she very smartly understands and keeps up with the lesson and the logic of what he's explaining. So I figured it would be worthwhile to, in this video, study the scene before diving into my 3 upcoming analysis videos, because they're primarily focused on theme. So it might be cool to look at a scene where Erikson chose to focus on theme, or kind of at least let his characters, or through his characters, give some opinions about theme and narrative. So let me find it real quick here. This is the mass market of Forge of Darkness, published by Tor, and I'm going to page 625. The bottom of page 625. Yeah, so I guess for some context before I begin this reading, Haut is leading his daughter, Koria, to visit an individual known as the Lord of Hate. So they're kind of on the road, they're traveling, and that is really all the necessary context I think I really need to give to set up the scene. So the passage reads as follows. As they chewed the dried meat and hard bread, Koria had glared across at her master and said, "I have no desire to visit anyone known as the Lord of Hate." "I share the sentiment, hostage, but visit him we must." "Why?" Haut flung the crust of the bread he had been gnawing on into the hearth, but as there was no fire, the crust simply fell among the wet sticks and soaked logs. The Jagged frowned. "With your vicious and incessant assault upon my natural equanimity, you force upon me the necessity of a tale. And I so dislike telling a tale. Now, hostage, why should that be so?" I thought I was the one asking questions. Haut waved a hand in dismissal. "If that conceit comforts you, so be it. I am not altered in my resolve. Now tell me, why do I dislike tales?" "Because they imply a unity that does not exist. Only rarely does a life have a theme, and even then such themes exist in confusion and uncertainty, and are only described by others once that life has come to an end. A tale is the binding of themes to a past, because no tale can be told as it is happening." "Just so," Haut nodded. "Yet what I would speak of this morning is but the beginning of a tale. It is without borders, and its players are far from dead, and the story is far from finished. To make matters even worse, word by word I weave truths and untruths. I posit a goal to events, when such goals were not understood at the time, nor even considered. I am expected to offer a resolution, to ease the conscience of the listener, or earn a moment or two of false comfort, with the belief that proper sense is to be made of living, just as in a tale." Koria shrugged. "By this you mean to tell me that you are a poor teller of tales. Fine. Now, please get on with it. So that, I hope you guys don't mind the slightly dorky reading of that scene, and I hope it was clear enough to follow along with. I'm wanted to talk really about a couple specific passages in there. First, when Korea kind of nails it on the head, the exact reason why Hao doesn't like to tell stories. Let's see, sorry, I lost my place again. Let me find it real quick. Okay. So, she says, because they imply a unity that does not exist. Only rarely does life have a theme, or by that, she's saying only rarely does life actually have that kind of unity, or can you see that unity? And I think this is a really interesting point to look at, especially as I'm researching theme and what themes are in this book, or in these books. So I think an example to kind of take her point and apply it to my own research is, in this third video, I'll be looking at historian characters across all of Erikson's works. And there's not much unity in these kind of disparate characters. In fact, I guess let's take three characters, for example, three academics. You've got Sigander, who is Erathan's tutor. Erathan's a character in this book if you haven't read it yet. And then Rise Harriet is the kind of court historian who he's around the other priests and Mother Dark herself more. And then Dweeker is the imperial historian in Book 2 of Book of the Fallen, Deadhouse Gates. So these characters are barely connected, but I'm personally connecting them by choosing to analyze them and applying this sort of thematic analysis around them. And then Erikson's commentary in and of itself on historians, if he's saying similar things, if he's using these characters to show kind of polar opposite views of what a historian is supposed to do, what their purpose is in society, he is connecting them thematically, even though the plot details and plot events that any of these characters are involved in do very little to connect all of their disparate intentions and their motivations. So that's one way I think to kind of look at how unique the process of studying writing and analyzing things is that not only does the tale itself use theme, does Erikson himself use theme to apply a sense of unity, but when we do this analytical work, we are kind of continuing on that tradition of unifying characters across novels, across storylines, and sometimes we might be wrong, sometimes we might be right, but that actually leads me to the second of two things I really want to look at here, and this is in Haut's final passage, which is a little long-winded, but I want to point out that at the end here, he is talking about his desire to provide some kind of false comfort, idea of like making sense of the lives of these characters that we're being told about, but the tale is ongoing. So he can't wrap it up. He himself, this character, doesn't know how it's going to end. So without knowing the truth of the ending, he has to kind of set these goals in mind that a lot of these characters, thinking through these different things, these different themes, that they might be reaching towards, but for all he knows, the story might go in a totally different direction than what he expects, and then his tale isn't going to be very good or isn't going to make a ton of logical sense. So that's why at the very end Korea says, oh, by this you mean to tell me that you are a poor teller of tales, because a proper teller of tales might be expected to deliver all of the information and the beats along the way that do have satisfying resolutions or do have these goals set up early on finally achieved in the end. And now while Steven Erikson might have an idea of where this series is going, Haut's sort of frustration of not being able to tell the tale fully, I think, is more reflective of what we do as readers and fans of the series. We can talk about the storylines that we enjoy. We can talk about the themes in these books. I can make a whole video about why I think parenting is a really important concept in here, and why the responsibilities and the burdens of a parent are often passed onto those, or onto their children, justly or unjustly. I can do all of that, but then Walk in Shadow might come out and totally destroy my entire argument, and that would, in Hout's, or I guess in Korea's terms, that would make me a sort of a poor teller of tales. Yeah, just that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about here. A pretty short passage, pretty short kind of analysis there. But when I was looking through for examples and references to the main themes I want to make videos about, I stumbled, or I got back to that part, and I was like, wow, this is really, really speaking to kind of the work that I'm trying to do now. And I thought, on top of that, the fact that it's taken me a little longer to kind of go back and annotate all of this, I figured this would be a good opportunity to make a kind of this update video, and give you a little taste of the way that I intend to approach these books. So I guess first and foremost, thanks Mr. Erickson for writing books that are so detailed and so easy to engage with on an analytical level. So much fun to engage with like this, rich, full of these different layered themes. And thank you all for watching, and please keep your eyes, or your eyes and ears open for when I post the first of these analysis videos. Again, that should just be another day or two, especially now that I have it all annotated. I have certain quotes written down, and I think I have the structure of the first analysis essay kind of worked out. When I'll add, when I post those, I'll link in either the comments or the description, I'll link a sort of not a video essay version, but just a straightforward essay version of what I'm talking about. So, if I'm talking a little too fast, or if I get a little tongue-tied in any of those videos, you'll be able to, of course, go into that link and look at that Word document, and maybe read a little more slowly at your own pace to try and see, and maybe comment, or maybe articulate, or be able to better articulate counter arguments to any of the positions I put forward. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you know anyone else that you think this type of series would really appeal to, or this type of kind of lit analysis and theme analysis would really appeal to, it would really mean a lot if you could help kind of spread the word about my channel, share this in different social media type of things. It is pretty much a niche kind of series, and then when I get really into all the analysis and stuff, that might be an even more niche audience. So I'm not expecting my channel to like explode or anything because of these videos, but I really do hope that people out there see the amount of work I'm putting into this and how much I love doing this. So yes, again, thank you so much for watching. Bye.